Yeah.
But
And we are live. Chev and I are mid discussion about some dynasty draft strategy on the clock trades that that happened today. But right now we are back for another mock draft Monday. We got a live Superflex 12 team tight end premium draft like we always do. I did bring it up in the meetings. I've said, hey, can I make a motion that we don't do third round reversal one time? Because that still seems a little pretty progressive. Maybe not everybody's out there doing the third round reversal. Got my hand slapped. Said nope. But no, that might be in the future here. All right, Chef. So the draft is up and running. Every week we come back up in here and we realize that every collection of 12 dynasty managers is different. Every draft is different, and you may have a preconceived notion of how you want to build your team, and all of a sudden, you know, you get Patrick Mahomes falls in your lap at the end of the first round or early second. In this draft, he goes at 1-8. I'll read the names as soon as the first round's over. But you can have all the plans you want to have. I just recommend when you get into a dynasty startup to at least be open to letting some of that early movement in the board keep you fluid a little bit. If you got a plan in rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, there's not a whole lot that's going to happen before that should be pushing you around on some of those guys that you want to target in those areas. And we'll do plenty of videos coming up on that. We just had a really awesome dynasty draft startup strategy video we did, and it'll be out in a day or two. How you feeling tonight, Chev?
oh, dude, if I was any better, I'd be twins. I'm trying to tell you something. Now,
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, I put it on the screen. I'm gonna put it up there again. Yeah, happy birthday, big dog.
Oh, thanks, man.
Uh, yeah, absolutely. And to your point, it is really important to have a strategy, but also one thing that you don't want to do is just take a guy because you want to fill a spot. Like if you don't have a guy in that range, like let's be proactive about trading back. Now, I am a known like who watches a watcher. I'm watching your ass if you're on the clock. So, like, let's be proactive. Send out some trades, like when you're 2 picks off the clock, when you're 3 picks off the clock, and you might have there might be some guys that they're not willing. They might accept a deal a couple picks ahead of time that they not expecting a guy in that range to fall, and they fall, and you've now got the leverage because you have that pick. So, yeah, just a couple things there. But go ahead
All
and
right.
get the first round.
Yeah, first round's up, rocking and rolling. Pretty much the same guys almost every week, and then we change the order around a little bit. I still haven't seen Genty or Gibbs do a whole lot of first round action, but so we got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. First 3 are quarterbacks. 1-4 is Jamar Chase. 1-5 is Joe Burrow. 1-6 is Bowers. 1-7 Justin Jefferson. Patrick Mahomes, Hurts, Bijan at 110, CeeDee Lamb at 111, and Neighbors at 112. Been a while since I've seen CeeDee Lamb go ahead of Neighbors. So that's the first round. Bijan's up there pretty much consistently. Bijan hangs out in the first round. He does make it to 112 sometimes. I've seen that double tap with Bijan and Genty and stuff like that. That's always fun. But we got Bijan, the guy gets Genty at 2-3, that same team. And then the Neighbors guy gets Puka on that turn. CeeDee Lamb picks up Jahmyr Gibbs on that turn. So that 9, 10, 11, 12, those just steady just seem like so much fun. You put those guys together. Each and every week we come in here and we say, hey, man, drafting from the 9, 10, 11, 12 spot, it's a lot more fun than it used to be.
Oh yeah, especially with third round reversal because
Of
you're then
course.
not missing out on a huge tier of players. There's not a giant tier break. I could see there was another content creator that made bitching about how third round reversal isn't fair. Kick rocks, man. This is pretty awesome to be able to start out. I mean, the back end of the second, you got Lamar Jackson and Nico Collins. That guy started out with Lamar Jackson, Nico Collins in. That's early for Amari Hampton, but I like it. Stamp it,
Okay.
get your guy. But yeah, 10, 11, 12, you can build, you can start out with some ridiculous players. I mean, being able to get Bijan and Aston Genty in a dynasty build feels amazing. I mean, or Malik Neighbors and Puka Nakua, and then you're on the clock again. Boom. So now we're hero wide receiver, Malik Neighbor. I'm gonna keep an eye on you. Is that Matt? Yeah, Matt. I got an eye on you, big dog. Yeah.
Yeah, keep an eye on Matt here for sure. He's got 3 wide receivers. All right, so second round got started. We mentioned some of the teams that got those players. We got Puka and at 2-1. We got Gibbs. Genty goes next. Then Brian Thomas. Then Trey McBride. Then St. Brown. Drake London. Caleb Williams. Drake May. Hampton. Nico Collins. Barkley to finish up the second round. So to your point here, you got Josh Allen at 1-1. The guy sits at 1-1 with Josh Allen, and he comes back around and gets Saquon. So back in the day, old school, and plenty of people probably currently still playing like this, that guy right there would have 2 picks in a row. So the Josh Allen guy would have Saquon Barkley at 212 and then be sitting there to be able to nab up, Lad McConkey or another quarterback like Bo Nix or Justin Herbert or something like that, or throw a Garrett Wilson on his team. So the third round reversal basically just takes the Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Hey, that's not fair. You got a guy that scores enough points to be like 2 people every week in your lineup and kind of levels it out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that guy starting out the draft with potentially Lad McConkey, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Allen doesn't really feel like that's not going to feel great for everybody else. That's not him.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. If anybody else but him doesn't feel awesome. All right. So third round is coming to a close here. So for the podcast listeners here, we got this. We finished up at Saquon at 212. Lad McConkey goes 3-1. Bo Nix 3-2. Justin Herbert 3-3. Sometimes he's middle of the second round. Achane 3-4. Garrett Wilson, Bucky Irving, AJ Brown, Marvin Harrison, JSN, CJ Stroud at 310, Jordan Love at 311. Just stealing, right? CJ Stroud at 310 is incredible. And Jordan Love at 311. So there, like the Josh Allen guy 1-1 who doesn't get the back-to-back picks for his 3-1 is now 312 in the third round reversal, like we're talking about. He's within he could trade up in a real draft if you had 312 and you're sitting on the clock and 310's on the clock. CJ Stroud's still out there. You trade up a couple picks to get CJ Stroud if you wanted 2 quarterback build. If not, you sit there because you're like, well, if Stroud goes, then Jordan Love and he ends up getting Rashee Rice. So still Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Rashee Rice, Tet McMillan to start the fourth round for that guy's team. He's got studs. I mean, that's the beauty. I remember doing stuff like this with Casey last year, and it's like it just seems like the talent level of the NFL got a little bit deeper, and the second round became a little bit more fun, and it was a little less like if you didn't have a top 5 pick, you didn't feel like left out in the storm, right? Well, now, I mean, the entire third round feels like it's full of studs. I mean, it really does. Sure, somebody's going to disappoint. Somebody's going to have, not return your investment, for the ADP. Obviously, somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to let you down, and somebody's going to do better than you think they're going to do. Like, there's not a really like a flat tire in the third round.
Correct. Like you're not walking away from this draft. You're not walking away from this draft saying, man, I started out with Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, Amarian Hampton, and T. Higgins, and I hate it. Like
exactly. Yeah, exactly. You can't, yeah. But I was just talking to Casey about it yesterday because we were talking about doing a startup auction. And I was just like, if somebody doesn't play their cards right in auction, they can have a real bad day. Like because there's no like ADP in the auction. I mean, right. They do put the most formats put like an average cost beside a player. So I guess there's a little hand holding there, but like you can go on auto pick in a startup and come away with a team that's not awful. You're not going to be
because it's going to auto bid. Like if you're on auto, it's going to auto bid, whatever the player's worth more times than not.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope in the auction if you don't have your hands on the steering wheel and your feet on the gas and the brake. we got some auction content. We got some auction startup content coming out here. We're gonna do an auction startup and then make videos on it because Casey and I were
Oh,
just talking. There's just not a way to really
no, you can't
talk
talk.
through it
It's
without it.
nobody's going to follow if
Exactly.
you
You got to
don't
be able to
like,
see it.
yeah.
Got to be able to see it. All
Yeah.
right. You want to give me the 4th round names, or you want me to give them to them?
I got them.
All right.
So we start out there with Ted McMillan, Brees Hall, T. Higgins, Travis Hunter, as per usual now, Jonathan Taylor, Travion Henderson, Kyron Williams. Oh, that's nice. Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, Rome Odunze, JJ McCarthy, and Cam Ward to close out the 4th round. My boy Matt over here with a bunch of A's and 2 T's is killing it.
Yeah.
Keep that up, big dog.
Yeah. Okay. So we can come on here on Monday night, June the 2nd, in the year of 2025, and we can talk about Cam Ward. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting here with War Daddy over here, Tennessee Titans, Homer, Chev. I'm saying that because in a real paid money rookie draft today, I'm on the clock at the 1-3. I trade back to the 1-4. The guy that trades up to the 1-3 takes Cam Ward. That player, Cam Ward being off the board, changed trade negotiations for the next couple players because the 2 of them said, since Cam's off the board, I don't want to trade up anymore. I mean, 3 months ago, Cam Ward was 8th round startup pick in these mock drafts that we do, and after we got done, I was like, Cam Ward in the 8th. That's obviously
It's
coming
not
up.
real.
That's not real. And then a couple weeks later, Cam Ward was in the 6th, and I was like, that's still some really good Cam Ward value. And here we are. He's in the 4th round. Sometimes he's in the 3rd round of a startup. Sometimes he's in the 4th round of a startup. But like even in rookie drafts now, like it's
crystallized. Yeah.
It's
He's a top 4
absolutely
pick.
crazy how much value. It's like the quarterbacks, even in a league where everybody's all spread out. In a startup, I understand because it's like, it's wild, and it says wild, wild west in a startup. You don't know what anybody's got going on. You don't know what anybody's thinking. But in a rookie draft, everybody has a team already. We're just talking about rookies, right? And so the Cam Ward situation in these rookie drafts in the last, it wasn't like that when the FFPC rookie drafts rolled around, like right after the NFL draft. But in the last month, it has become in Superflex leagues, it has become Cam Ward. You need a quarterback. This is your guy. You got to come make some noise with. So he has really established. And if you don't have, trying to trade for a quarterback without having a quarterback to give away, Casey and I have been talking about that for years, but literally we are trying to overpay for a quarterback and we don't have one to give. And it's a non-starting point.
You end up having to give away a player, a skill position player that's going to be worth more to that person's lineup than that quarterback is. And they're likely giving you their 3rd quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they don't want to do it either.
Yeah.
So that was we'll start here at 5-1. Josh Jacobs goes at 5-1. Xavier Worthy at 5-2. Devonta Smith, Sam Laporta, Christian McCaffrey in the 5th round. All these reports coming out about how healthy he looks. Here comes his ADP.
We're about to get CMC bullish.
Golly, here comes his ADP. Here he comes. Last week at 6, I was like, I can get it. It's up about 10 points here since we talked about it a week ago. We got these Christian McCaffrey's healthy videos coming out. Trevor Lawrence goes at 5-6. Zay Flowers at 5-7. Baker Mayfield 5-8. Judkins 5-9. Chase Brown, Igbuka, and Mr. Goff, Jared. I don't know which way the sun rises or sets. Goff at 5-12. So we got 3 quarterbacks that go in that round. Each round, the number of quarterbacks is kind of up and down. We're going to find a dead zone of quarterbacks here in a minute, but still got a few out there. Got Penix off the board now in the next round. We got Dak and stuff like that hanging out still. So Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff are the 5th round quarterbacks this week. You can make a team drafting quarterbacks in the 4th and the 5th round these days. You can,
100%.
you know,
That value in the 5 to 7 range, and I'll speak on a guy that I'm super into, in that 6-7 range. But yeah, you can draft a bunch of studs and then still have your quarterback problem solved in a very strong way, getting those quarterbacks in 5, 6, and 7.
yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, Dak's off the board in the 6th already, and I don't have a list of players in front of me here of the quarterbacks remaining. But it won't be long before Panthers quarterback comes off the board, and then we'll be trying to look around for how far does Justin Fields fall in a super flex before somebody needs to catch him like the parachute. All right, so George Kittle goes at 6-1, and then so you just I love this. We get a note that tells you you're on the clock in a real draft right now. I got my phone in my hand like Schefter, bro. I got 4 rookie drafts going on right now. It's my birthday. I got 4 rookie drafts going on. I'm live with you right now. We're talking through these options right here. Kittle at 6-1, James Cook at 6-2, Tyler Warren at 6-3, Penix. There you go. There's another quarterback. Derrick Henry 6-5, Dak Prescott at 6-6, Hawkinson, Olave, RJ Harvey 6-9, Bryce Young 6-10. I knew he was going to come off this round. He's going to stay close to Penix and Prescott. And then there's Jalen Waddle at 6'11 and Colson Loveland 6'12. So your boy Matt on the end there, who started out with Neighbors and Puka on the turn. Then he came back with Ladd McConkey and Cam Ward. Oh, sorry. He had 3-1 was McConkey, so that wasn't back-to-back with Cam Ward. 3-1 was McConkey, and then on the back the next time around he took Cam Ward, Josh Jacobs. This time around he takes Colson Loveland and Caleb Johnson. So he's got 3 out of his 4 last picks were rookies. The oldest player on his team is Josh Jacobs, and he ain't old. I
Right.
really like that team he's got started right there.
Yeah, you got an insane amount of insulated value.
Yep. And then the team right beside him, the CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs, 111, 2-2. Then he comes back, bang, bang, Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, and then he goes Worthy, Waddle, Jameson Williams. I really, really like that. Obviously, nobody likes Waddle right now, but Waddle is you're I'm not trying to sell you on Waddle right this minute, but Waddle's a really, really good football player.
Yes.
And if Miami decides they want to throw him the ball, and if he's healthy at the same time, that's really, really, really good. So while we're in the middle of this round, Mark G throws a couple dollars our way and asks us, he says, would you trade Justin Jefferson for Rashee Rice and Nico Collins? And the answer for me to that is most likely. Without knowing any of your context and your starting lineup requirements, et cetera, let's say Justin Jefferson goes at 1-7 in this draft, Nico Collins goes at 2-11, and then Rashee Rice goes at 3-12. So that's basically given you trade back from your first round pick to get 2 players, a second and a third round startup value pick. If you have a huge deep starting lineup, if you got to start 12, that's a yes. I'm taking Nico and Rashee Rice for Justin Jefferson. That's 2 starters for 1, and both of the 2 starters I'm getting are very high end. Justin Jefferson's elite. You got to pay to play. If you're starting 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and maybe a flex like the old school, and it's a very, very short starting lineup, then I'm gonna hang on my elite first round guys a little bit tighter. Hope that helps, Mark. Appreciate the $2 our way minus taxes. My man, appreciate you.
Minus taxes.
So, bro, always. You got to know what you're dealing with over here. All right, so 6-12 was Colson Loveland. You want to hit us with the 7th rounders, or you got a trade negotiations over there? I can pick up 7th round if I need to.
No, we're good here. Yeah. So coming off the boys, this is great value. I'm in a startup right now, different startup, but the startup that I'm on the clock in, I got JMO, and then I gambled that trade we talked about earlier, thinking that JMO was going to fall to the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going earlier and earlier. People are getting hip. I got to start lying. I got to start lying on these streams about what I really believe, because now JMO was at the back of the 7th round. Now he's at the front of the 7th round. What's going on here? But anyway, Jameson Williams 7-2. DJ Moore 7-3, Jordan Addison 7-4, Kenny Walker, Kenny 3 sticks at 7-5, Golden at 7-6, Terry McLaurin at 7-7, George Pickens at 7-8, Tyreek Hill at 7-9. Ooh, that's an interesting one. I want to come back to that one with you, Big Co.
Okay.
7-10, DK Metcalf, 7-11, Chuba Hubbard, love the value, and Joe Mixon, 7-12. So yeah, that's a really, really big run on wide receivers here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 wide receivers taken in round 7. And there's a pretty big tier break for me, where Kenneth Walker goes, and then the guys that are kind of going that follow.
Yeah, that's a good name to call. I like that tier break there. And you see it too. You see a Kenneth Walker go and then 5 wide receivers go in a row. That's telling you right there that people jump off the running backs for a minute, move over to the wide receivers.
Yeah, I just this build that, what does this say? Gillavision. This build that Gillavision has going here. I don't know that Tyreek Hill necessarily fits what we're trying to do. You know?
All right. So for the listeners, Gillavision has the 4th pick. He goes Jamar Chase, Drake May in the 2nd round, JSN, Travis Hunter in the 3rd and 4th, Judkins and Penix. So, and then Tyreek Hill and Luther Burden. So he's got Chase, JSN as his first 2 wide receivers he's starting, and he's got Hunter in a flex, and he's got Tyreek Hill in a flex. Judkins as his anchor stud running back, and he's got 2 quarterbacks, Penix and May. And then, so he's got 1 flex filled out, both wide receivers filled out, throws Tyreek Hill in his 2nd flex, and he throws Luther Burden on the bench as, depth piece to potentially, anything that can go wrong. And I'm big on putting somebody. I don't mind putting somebody on my bench before I got my full starting lineup filled out. That's you're probably not doing it correctly if you go straight position by position and get your starting lineup filled out right before 100%. You have somebody on the bench. And I'm not saying you're doing it wrong, but like it's probably not right because the way the board fell, you probably shouldn't have been looking for a certain position at a certain time. If the board falls perfectly and you just happen to line up and your starting lineup's done before, like, say, a 3rd quarterback's on your bench or a 5th wide receiver or something like that where you don't have, or you're a 2nd tight end if it's, if it lines up right. I'm totally fine if I got a player or 2 on my bench and my RB2's wide open or, however that plays out. I don't say the Tyreek Hill at 7-9, like, again, like I talked about last week, it's in the 6th round with Christian McCaffrey. In the 7th round, if you take Tyreek Hill and he plays 2 more years and it's good, you straight. He just got his contract restructured a while. He wants another contract restructure, and he might not want to play in Miami. Like if it goes bad, I think in the 7th round you can make up for it. You're already super young. You don't have anybody on that roster that's like, you don't have 3. That's I don't have a problem with it because you don't have already 2 guys that are like 28, or like you took Jonathan Taylor and AJ Brown, right? If you had AJ Brown already and you got Jonathan Taylor already, like both of those guys are studs, not getting any younger, etc. Like let's make sure we continue having the age value on our side. Like Tyreek Hill could crush for 2 years, but he could also
do what he did last year.
He could also disappear on you. I mean, last year he got hurt. He had a broken hand. Like, I mean, I appreciate he gutted it out as so long as he did. All right, so we got the 7th round is done, but we got Alex jumps in here. He throws us $10. He's on the clock here. He wants a couple of ideas. He said a Superflex, no tight end premium league, IDP. So I'm gonna try my best here, Alex. I don't do IDP, so let's see what I got here.
The IDPs, boss.
Okay, so I started with Neighbors, St. Brown, McConkey, JSN, Penix, and Goff. So my man, there's 2 wide receivers, Neighbors and St. Brown, McConkey and JSN as his flexes, and Penix and Goff's got 2 quarterbacks. I love that start. Because you got 4 studs wide receivers in your lineup and 2 quarterbacks that are solid. I mean, we think Penix is going to be solid. We hope he's going to be solid. Goff is solid. Mixon and Swift at running back. Should I look to upgrade at running back or quarterback before the season? Is Alex's question. So it does say IDP, and nothing about that has anything to do with IDP in the question.
Right. So we're just going to pretend like we didn't have that. That's not a part of the question.
Okay.
If you're
All
okay
right.
with that.
Absolutely. I have zero awareness of what an IDP does for me, other than the fact that I understand that, if you can put Travis Hunter, if you could put Travis Hunter in a defensive back spot and have a defensive back out there catching passes, that could quote unquote break the game, like we tried to have with Taysom Hill at quarterback and all that stuff. So do I look to upgrade my running back or quarterback before the season? Says Alex. No tight end premium. Not necessarily. If depends on how you finish up. If you've already drafted completely, depends on what your third quarterback might look like. If you have any reservations, like if Penix were to come out and flop, that would suck. You've seen enough out of Goff, he's solid. Penix could come out and be an all-pro. Penix has an arm that Jared Goff will never have. Jared Goff could lift weights every day for the next 2 years. He'll not be able to spin it like Penix spins it, So it'll be interesting to see. I have a ton of confidence in Penix, not as much as Casey, but I think that Penix is awesome.
Yeah, I'm in the Penix is awesome boat.
Yeah, me too. Casey's already getting him fitted for a Hall of Fame jacket.
Man, he's gonna be really, really, really good. Like real good. And I feel very strongly about that. So
for Alex, I'm trying to see maybe if you throw some defensive players into the draft, like he must have made some trades or however he came around with those quarterbacks, or maybe, it's just Neighbors was his first pick, St. Brown was the second pick, McConkey was his third, JSN was his fourth, and then Penix or Goff 5 and 6. I mean, that's a really solid looking starting lineup, Mixon and Swift. You can always upgrade. I wouldn't necessarily go buy. We say this all the time. I wouldn't go buy like Derrick Henry right now in June. I wouldn't. There's nothing wrong with trying to upgrade any player. You always want to upgrade from any position at any time. You always want to upgrade. You don't have to upgrade a wide receiver because you're basically got almost the first 4 drafted, but you always want to look out for upgrades. I wouldn't do anything. Just keep it rocking. Keep it rocking. All right. So that was 6-7 rounds. We got through with Caleb Johnson, right?
Yeah, we hit Caleb Johnson. Then we come back with, the 8th round, Devontae Adams, Jaden Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, Luther Burden III, David Montgomery, Justin Fields. That's insane value for Fields. He's never going there in startups. Cam Scatterbo, Jerry Jeudy, Rick the Ruler, Ricky Pearsall, Alvin Kamara, Dalton Kincaid, not Devontae Kincaid, and Jackson Dart.
Devontae Kincaid it is.
Devontae Kincaid. Maybe he'll start being good for fantasy if I name him Devontae Kincaid.
He's got some game logs in there.
Man, all right, I just needed to go back to being a little bit more like it was his rookie year.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've said it before. We don't have to be the Dalton Kincaid apologist. He got hurt. His knee was busted up when he was in there. He doesn't have the 90% snap percentage. He does it, but like his target per route run when he's healthy must be really, really good, because I was looking through his game logs, and so the snap percentage is never super high, and then you can see the games he's in, he's getting targeted. And then the snap percentages drops to like way lower than normal. He's banged up or whatever, gets, in and out of the lineup, and the targets might not be there. But Dalton Kincaid's game log, you check it out and you're like, all right, well, they obviously, when he's in the lineup, when he's on the field, he's a part of the offense. Unfortunately, he gets subbed out in packages a la, Brock Bowers doesn't, Trey McBride doesn't, potentially George Kittle does not, maybe Tyler Warren will not, potentially Loveland will not, Hawkinson does not, Kraft might not, Mark Andrews never did, but so that's the only thing about Kincaid is, can he live? If Kincaid can become, I said this about Pitts the other night, but like if Kincaid can become Jonnu Smith or Evan Ingram before he turns 28 or 29, then you got a firecracker on your hands. Like if Kyle Pitts can become Jonnu Smith or Evan Ingram before he gets 28, Kyle Pitts is 24. He's already been in the league 3 years, and everybody's ready to write him off, and he's terrible. Like Evan Ingram was the best rookie tight end we'd ever seen, and then he in the wrong system, didn't want to throw it to him. What happened? A couple years later, he's on the Jags. Doug Peterson loves throwing it to tight ends. He gets peppered, and now he's over here in Denver with Sean Payton, right? And then Jonnu Smith signs a huge contract with the Patriots, and the Patriots are like, you know what? We're not throwing him the ball. Okay, well, Jonnu Smith takes his bag of money to the bank, and then he's like, well, let me find somebody that wants to throw me the ball. He ends up in Miami. He does spend the season with Arthur Smith in Atlanta, looking solid, and then he ends up on all my rosters, and then he ends up in Miami and gets a crap ton of targets after Tua comes back from getting hurt because they wanted to get the ball out quick, and now he wants a contract extension, so he may not be with Miami anymore. So we'll see about Jonnu. But point is, Kincaid's got some upside. Kyle Pitts has upside. You got to find that right spot for these tight ends that have, that just aren't the two, the inline grinder at the same time. That's why those inline grinders that can play also, are so valuable.
It just like to me at this point, I'm smashing. I'm just gonna wait on tight end. And I'm going to wait on tight end and grab a guy like Tucker Kraft. I would just much rather have the potential upside with how efficient he was and some of the advanced metrics that he had last year. Well, not advanced metrics, but just how great he was after the catch, like how great he was whenever he was targeted. Just all those things to me, I'm like, all right, cool. I can wait, another 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 picks, or I could take Kraft where I took Kyle Pitts, which brings us to that next round right there, right? Trey Harris.
Before you get off Kraft, I do enjoy the stats that you're almost naming, and I don't know them either, but I've seen them, and it's just like what he was like, 14th in targets and 14th in catches or whatever, that somewhere around there, but like 7th in yards, and
he was 21st in targets and 7th in yards.
They're even better. Even better. That's why we pay you the big bucks. All right, so you want to start up with Trey Harris in the 8th round? Is that the 9th round? That's the 9th round. 9-1 Trey Harris. Give it to me.
9-1 from my boy Matt, who's very clearly dominating this draft. Trey Harris, then Kyle Pitts, then Jaden Reed, then DeAndre Swift. Love that value on Swift. All right, can you move that so I can see the rest of the round real quick? Yeah. Then Mike Evans, Tucker Kraft, Keon Coleman. That's a little hey, sneaky early. This one Big Coach drafted from his burner account. I know what's going on here.
Then, Tucker Kraft and Keon Coleman in the 9th. Yeah. Somebody gave him my password, bro.
Yeah. And then Mark Andrews, Trey Benson, Josh Downs, Jack Besh, and Isaiah Pacheco. Anything catch your eye right there, bud?
Man, honestly, I've a couple things on the way down the line there, but when you get a 9-12 Pacheco, is he like
you got to do it?
Is it just like overwhelming like value the Chiefs running back, and you grab what's his name in the 18th round? They got the 7th rounder, right? You get Pacheco, you get Pacheco at 9-12, and you go grab Rashad Smith later, and you pretty much just lined up the Chiefs backfield, right?
Yeah.
Why not, man?
Now we still got a little Kareem Hunt. We still got a little Kareem Hunt problem. Still got a little Elijah Mitchell problem. But
yeah, forgot about Elijah Mitchell.
I've been beating the drum for Rashad Smith for a real long time.
Yeah, I do what you got. I'm not worried about Kareem Hunt so much. I understand what I'm getting into. If I get Pacheco and Pacheco's healthy, Pacheco's scoring fantasy points. And Rashad Smith might not ever see the field as long as Kareem Hunt's healthy, because the Chiefs don't give a shit about your fantasy team. They're trying to win, right? So the Chiefs ain't worried about Rashad Smith right now. He could not touch the ball till week 8, but it's one of those things like he's fast.
Once it
super
happens.
Fast. And so it could look electric. So he could be, and it could be prepared for preseason late round rookie running back, take off value because we see the defenses are vanilla. Nobody really wants to be tackling and getting hurt. A Brashard Smith hits the corner. The Browns running back that they took second, the second running back that the Browns took, he hits the corner. Dylan Sampson hits the corner and bursts out for 30-yard run, and it looks sick. Like that. We've been here before. Let's not overreact. Not that won't be super fun, but let's just remember that the defenses are hardly trying. They're working things out. The offense is working things out. Fast rookie running backs always find a way to look good in the preseason, and the team that's trying to go back to the championship, the real world Super Bowl, might not have anything to do with them later, all right, so I do like that 9-12 Pacheco. Maybe when we're done, I'm not sure what to do with Jack Besh. I like him a ton. I'm not sure if the targets are coming. I don't know if there's targets to go around for him in Vegas, but he could be a superstar because there'll be zero defensive attention. Right, you got Brock Bowers and you got Genty, and I just don't think the defense is even going to have. And you got Chip Kelly calling offense, right? I just don't see how Jack Besh, between Bowers and Genty, the two like superstar offensive type weapons, I don't see how Jack Besh has any defensive, like coordinator attention. How you? That's the last person. You're not drawing up defense to be like, we got to make sure we keep Jack Besh in check on Sunday, right?
Well, man, still got. I mean, what's his face? Jacoby Myers commanded 127 targets last year, if I'm not mistaken. So we can't just assume that he's going to overtake. I don't like him better than I like Jacoby Myers is my thing. And that's, Chip Kelly passing offense usually just funnels that son of a bitch to one.
I know.
To one passing.
And that could be a big slot, Jordan Matthews, anybody. So
the big slot, yeah, but the big slot would be Brock Bowers.
I mean, that's a given. Brock Bowers is the big slot, the big X, and wingman at the same time, bro. He plays all three.
Right.
Brock Bowers is good enough to get 2 targets in the same play, Chef.
But that's the problem is like we know Chip Kelly's run game has never finished worse than 14th, and that was with Carlos Hyde. The other years were with like LaShawn McCoy, and that was 1st and 4th, and I think they were 9th one year with DeMarco Murray coming in to run it in Philly that one year. And then, it was 14th the year that he spent in San Francisco. So we know that they're going to run the piss out of the pill, and we know that they're not going to be allowed to go past like the bottom half in attempts, or Pete Carroll's going to let Chip Kelly go. That's just been his MO. You can look it up, fact check me. That's just what it is. So
fact check him.
I love the draft capital. I don't love the opportunity in, coming out of the gate for Jack Besh. But if they move on from, I would rather just wait until, maybe like round 17 or 18 and just take a stab at Dante Thornton, because he's the only guy that has special physical tools as a wide receiver for them. I mean, that's more of a best ball dynasty play than it is, lineup. But I mean, he's 6'5", 205, and he runs a 4.3 flat. He averaged 25 yards a catch his last year at Tennessee. Like, I could talk myself into it, even though I hate the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, that's a really good pick in best ball. Somebody like Thornton, where you don't have to do anything, but if he gets points, great. All right, so 10th round started up with a quarterback. So the 9th round, we had no quarterbacks. The 8th round, we had Justin Fields and Jackson Dart. The 7th round, we had no quarterbacks. So we had the 6th round had Penix, Dak Prescott, and Bryce Young. And then the Bryce Young is kind of like the end of a tier. And then you got a gap, and then you got Justin Fields. We know you can plug him in for starts. He's going to rush, and Chev hit us weeks ago with the 50% of the time that he makes a start, he's a top 5 fantasy quarterback. So the 9th, 8th round, Justin Fields, he's your utility knife quarterback coming in. Jackson Dart goes in the 8th round. 9th round, no quarterbacks. 10th round, we got 3 of them. Here they come. Tua, Sam Darnold at 10-2, Tyrone Tracy, James Conner, Cortland Sutton, Anthony Richardson, mid-10th round Anthony Richardson, sign me up every day, all day. Khalil Shakir, Calvin Ridley, Travis Etienne, Zach Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, Jonnu Smith, 10-12. So we got we got 3 starters here. Obviously, Anthony Richardson could be potentially on thin ice. But we got Tua, Sam Darnold, and Anthony Richardson in the 10th round at quarterback and Superflex. So I'm going to give a little nugget out right here that's in the next Dynasty Startup Strategy video that we're putting out. We just recorded one. It's coming out in a day or two. But the next one that we have lined up to record, one of the lines in it is, if you get stuck, take a quarterback. And if you're in the 10th round and you're not sure what to do and you can grab a Sam Darnold or an Anthony Richardson, do it. If you can't make up your mind, grab a quarterback. If you're in the 6th round and you're like, I don't know what to do here, and Dak Prescott's on the board, grab Dak Prescott. Or if Penix went before Dak Prescott, and I assume that to be the case in every single draft, but they are only 2 picks apart. But like if you're in the 6th round and you're really like, I don't know if I should take, Derrick Henry or TJ Hawkinson, and you're kind of stuck, take Michael Penix or Dak Prescott, right? Because later, if you're like, oh, I definitely wanted one of those running backs, but all 3 running backs that I wanted went right back to back to back, or I was definitely getting that wide receiver right there, but those 3 wide receivers went right back to back. Just take a quarterback, and later on after the draft is done, and you get 3 weeks into the season or 13 weeks into the season, even if you already had 2, you can make moves with. If you have a quarterback to give, you can get basically any trade you want to make. You're not going to trade Dak for Justin Jefferson. That ain't happening, guys. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if you got a 3rd quarterback that's a good established starter scoring points, and you got stuck in the middle of the draft and you didn't know what to do and you had to take him, you'll be able to make moves later. You will. If you have 2 good quarterbacks, you're not going to want to trade one. So I'm okay. I'm the guy that I might go 3 rounds without a quarterback, but I might go 3 quarterbacks in a row after that. If it falls, if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. Or I'll take 2, and then I'll be the guy that takes Justin Richardson, or Justin Fields. Or if I miss, or I'll take Sam Darnold and Anthony Richardson at the turn. If I got the 9-12 and the 10-1, I'll go bang, bang if I have to. I don't mind having 4 quarterbacks through 11 rounds. It's money. It's cash. It's current.
It is. It is the most cashable asset that you could have on your roster outside of picks is quarterbacks and a super flex. Somebody's always going to need one. Somebody's going to be, hey, I'm looking to tier up. I'm looking to tier down. If you've got them, so they're going to come calling. That's the gospel right there.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten a couple rounds behind here.
Okay, it's towards the end. It's not a big deal. That's fine.
So let's stay here then. What do you're not a Tua guy at all?
No.
Right?
Mm-mm.
Okay. But
I did mess up. Let me throw this out there and then I'll get back to you. Whatever you're about to say, I don't want you to lose it. A couple weeks ago, I said if you're in one quarterback, you should be off your board. I didn't mean to. I said it, and I was in the middle of saying something, and I should have came right back and said, that's my bad. That was a mistake. In a one quarterback league, you should be taking him late because he does produce when he's on the field. So it's not like take him off your board. You and I did the one quarterback mock draft 2 months ago. And, that's when Justin Fields was down here in the 8th, 17th round or something like that. Like, take Tua as well down there that far. Obviously, he may or may not get hurt, whatever. That's my only thing is I'm pulling for him. I hope he never gets hurt again. But, like, he's got a big problem going on. And in a Superflex startup, I understand everything that Casey says every time we get in this argument. And Tua goes at 10-1 in this draft. And if he plays 15 games, that's super solid. But like, there's just a huge situation there. And what I'm giving up is and this is the way I look at it. If you just say, oh, I gave up a chance to get Sam Darnold next pick, that's one pick. But like, if you're like, all right, I'm at 10-1 and I feel like Tua's the best value on the board, or I got 2 quarters. And this team, Tua went 10-1 to the Josh Allen team. Josh Allen's got the same team that's got Jared Goff, and so Tua is his 3rd. Great. That feels fantastic. But, like, you could trade back from that pick in a real draft. You could trade back from that pick. You could trade back as far as you could trade. You can trade back from that pick and get a 2nd-round pick, and maybe you have to fall all the way back to 10-11. Maybe you had to fall a full round, and you get a 2nd-round pick. And then you get then you get to the next round, and you can trade back again and trade back, and then you end up with Geno Smith. And 2 seconds, or Geno Smith in a second and a third, or whatever. Like it's when you take that pick and you just in a startup, you got 20 of them, you got 25, 30, however, how long it is. But like once you make that pick, whatever it is, if you're in the first round or you're in the 18th round and you make a selection, that thing is boom, gone. Now you got a player on your team. You don't have a draft pick that can be traded back anymore. Like it just, you have solidified your situation with that pick. That currency turned in from, hey, it's the 10-1, but that 10-1 can become the 10-3 plus a third next year. That 10-1 can become the 10-9 plus a second next year. That 10-1 could become 11-1, and my 14th round comes up to the 12th round. Like there's so many things you could do with a draft pick in a startup. Once you put a player's name to it, that happened. And all the options are gone. And that's a long way to say, and Tua's got to fall way down my board for me to just put him on my Superflex team. It's nothing to do with anything else but the injury situation.
I mean, I don't mind that. I don't mind that theory at all.
Okay to be wrong about it.
I mean, and if you want to, I mean, we were at some point. Hold on, let's answer this question real quick. Mahomes plus Dart or McCarthy, Fields, and Judkins. Mahomes and Dart for me, big dog. What do you say, Big Co?
I don't have to read a whole lot before. If it's Mahomes, I'm taking Mahomes, right? So the question is Mahomes plus Jackson Dart or JJ McCarthy, Fields, and Judkins? It's Mahomes and Dart. I mean, if I can continue to tangent off of that question, right? If Judkins,
well, hold on. Mm-hmm, let me, before you tangent, let me run into why right here real quick. So, like, obviously, we're probably going to say a lot of the same things, but with Mahomes, that's a blue chip asset at the quarterback position, regardless of what he's done the last couple of years. The whole notion that he's not going to ever return to that prominence level of his first few years is ridiculous. And the reason that it's ridiculous is because we've seen this with great quarterbacks time and time again. The only ones that just consistently were quarterback 1, quarterback 2 in their prime is like Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers. So, like with everybody else, it just kind of fluctuates. It goes up and down. Like if you're able to buy the dip, like Mahomes was probably a top 4 startup pick going into 2024, and now you're sometimes getting him in the second round. There's a lot of insulated value where I don't think his value is ever going to go down again unless he gets hurt or something like that, and we can't account for that. So, that's why I'm on the Mahomes side. Go ahead, Big Co.
I'm on the Mahomes side for everything you just said. Like, I think that McCarthy, I don't think there's many quarterbacks in the league that can't shine in Minnesota. All right. Between the combination of coach and players, I don't think McCarthy is not going to be awesome. I think McCarthy is going to be more than fine. And then you got Fields and Judkins. The thing is, like Mahomes and Dart, you could take Dart. You haven't played a snap yet, right? So you can take Dart and make something out of Dart if that's the situation. If you have Mahomes and Dart, you can trade Dart and get Justin Fields plus, right? So, is that right, or did Justin Fields go ahead of Jackson Dart in this league? Justin Fields might have gone right ahead of Justin
Fields
Dart.
Went at 8-6, I want to say.
Yeah, 6 picks ahead. Okay, 6 picks ahead. The thing I was going to say about Judkins is, he's the kicker that pulls this whole trade together and gives you a starting running back to devalue off of Mahomes down to McCarthy. And, Justin Fields I think he's going to be amazing this year. I really do. But this is already,
we don't have enough. We
his
can't
career,
do 1 year outlook for Justin
His
Fields.
career is played out exactly like Casey said it could have 3 years ago. And then he gets another stop here, and it could be amazing. I think Glenn is going to be an awesome head coach. And I'm not a big fan of like defensive minded head coaches most times, but if you listen to that 5-7 minute interview with Aaron Glenn, it ain't gonna take you long to appreciate what that man's got going on. I recommend looking that up. Anyway, the Judkins part, Judkins can be a super, super good running back and still not come anywhere close to what Nick Chubb was. So like, and that's fine. He doesn't need to be that. But like the people that are also there's like this like, because he got drafted by the Browns, possibly, obviously. Like people are like, oh, he's a perfect Nick Chubb replacement. He is a perfect Nick Chubb replacement, but Nick Chubb, I think people forget how absolutely elite he was. Like Judkins is coming over to the Browns, and he's already got better wide receivers out there that for the defense to chase around than Nick Chubb really ever had to deal with. Maybe Nick Chubb was there when that dude had all the. No, I don't think Nick Chubb was even there when that young dude had all those catches and touchdowns way back 10 years ago. That's before Nick Chubb's time. Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon before Nick Chubb, right?
Yeah. So the first season for Nick Chubb was 2018. Him and Saquon are the same class of running back.
Yeah, I don't think Nick Chubb ever had any receivers like Judy and Njoku. Like Njoku took for Njoku's a good field stretching tight end now, and Judy's come along, and Cedric Tillman. I don't think
they weren't even playing Njoku full time when they had like Odell Beckham and. When they had Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry and all that, they weren't even playing Njoku full time, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me in retrospect, but it is what it is.
Well, that young tight end situation, it does. I understand it takes. There's a lot of things you got to do. You got to know how to play on the offensive line. You got to understand all their shifts and calls at the same time. I get it. I'm just like, I think what I was trying to say is I think Judkins is coming into a Browns organization with more offensive talent on that side of the ball than consistent than what Nick Chubb had to deal with. Plus, Nick Chubb ended up being Nick Chubb. I'm just not ready to hand Judkins the Nick Chubb title yet. Judkins could be really good and still not be what my boy, Nick Chubb became. Just ridiculous.
No, I mean I think Judkins is going to have a really, really nice NFL career. Obviously, I've been very vocal about how I feel about Quinshon Judkins, but with getting two quarterbacks, you're giving up two quarterbacks, but you reset the clock on one. And I mean, it's basically a dice roll. It's a dice roll on Dart or McCarthy, however you feel about that. You can say that you're super duper, staunch about JJ McCarthy being the next Kirk Cousins or whatever he's supposed to be. I don't really know. I think that it's going to work out well because Kevin O'Connell has shown us that he can basically throw any quarterback in that system and get something.
Agreed.
So it should go pretty well with McCarthy, but you're assuming a ton of risk on that side, and you can only make 1-year bets with Justin Fields at this point.
I like
unless
that.
He comes out. Yeah,
that's perfectly said. 1-year bets on that side is well said.
Yeah, that's all you're doing. He's got a 2-year deal. If they're 2-9 going into week 12, he ain't gonna be playing quarterback for much longer. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
So, you can only make. I love Justin Fields. I mean, I think he's gonna go back to scoring around 22 or 23 fantasy points a game. He's gonna give you a ton rushing. That's why I love Brees, because that's gonna open up lanes for Brees. But we can only do that for 2025. Like beyond that, if you're playing on Justin Fields, like. You've seen this movie before, so it's your own fault if you just choose to make a long-term strategy out of Justin Fields and JJ McCarthy and Judkins.
Yeah, I like it. All right, so I don't think we need to just shout out all these names real quick just to say we did. I think we could go through here and call out some of the guys. Every week we end up calling out the values on the end of the draft, and they're pretty much the same. But we did we can call out a couple names. I'm gonna do one more question here, and then you tell me, like a running back and a wide receiver that was drafted after. Like, so one of the things that I hate that people says, hey, you got to draft this player in the startup, right? These, my 5 top players you got to draft, and 3 of them are taken before the 5th round. So like, you don't necessarily have an ability to get those guys if you're on the wrong side of the draft board from their ADP without you kind of bending over backwards with trades. But I like it when somebody says, draft these 3 players in every draft this year, and they all start after the 10th round. So like there's 0, as long as they got like a round in between, if you pick somebody in the 10th round, you pick somebody in the 12th round, you pick somebody in the 14th round, you can pretty much get those 3 guys if you want to say, those are my guys. So like I'm going to Gillespie over here says, you got any tips for somebody new to this? I'm not going to absolutely repeat the entire draft strategy video we got coming out in a day or two for him, Chev, but let me give him 2 tips over here, because 2 tips better than 1 tip. Everybody knows that. And then you can give me a player or 2 that you're like, hey, if I'm in a startup this year, I'm definitely getting these 2 guys. All right. So the question is, you got any tips somebody new to this? If you're new to this, my main two things I'll tell you is trade back a little bit more than you trade up. Don't give your league mates more credit. Like, don't think that you're sitting there staring at, JJ McCarthy, Cam Ward's that's too much of a hot name, but don't be sitting there in the middle of the third, fourth, fifth round being like, I got it. This player right here is the best player in the world. And if I don't take it, if I don't trade up here and give away my future, somebody's going to draft him, because most times 2-3 picks later, that same guy's on the board. I mean, I've literally sent trades out for 10 picks in a row, and either the guy goes right in front of me and I've missed for 10 picks in a row. I thought he was such a good pick that I had to do it. Or, just he was still on the board 10 picks later. 10th round, I'm trying to trade up to 10-1. He got 10-1, 10-2, 3, all the way to my pick at 9, and he's still on the board. So if you could trade back a couple times, that's always, that's going to give you more equity. And what you do with that equity, whether you fumble the bag or not, trade back more than you trade up is probably going to be just a beginner's good tip. What you got for me, Chef?
To your point, I think one thing that we talked about when we did the episode is the competitive stamina you have to be willing to send out a bunch of offers. Like you said, trade back more than you trade up, but I don't think people understand that, like, you have to be willing to send out multiple offers, over and over and over again.
Yeah,
that's that. I want people to understand that that's the process. It's not just, hey, somebody offered me an option to trade back. Like, no, you have to go seek these out. You have to be proactive, and you gotta be okay with, like, somebody just blowing you off and just move on to the next person. But one of my favorites here throughout the deal has been the value on Travis Etienne. I don't, I mean, he was around 16 points a game in 2023, 16 and a half. I think he can get somewhere to around between, 12 and 15 this year. I think that this Basil Tootin thing is completely overblown. I didn't like Basil Tootin nearly as much as I enjoyed Bucky Irving's film coming out of Oregon. I was a Bucky Irving denier because I didn't think he could beat out Rachaad White, but that's a different story for a different day. I think Travis Etienne has a strong chance to bounce back here, and I love the value of that pick in the 10th round.
I like it. You got a wide receiver you can throw at me?
Probably. I mean, so I'll give you 3 here. Rashid Shaheed. Okay. Rashid Shaheed. I love the value there. He was in the midst of a breakout before, before he did whatever he did and had to have season-ending surgery. Then you've got Juwan Jennings. I mean, he's the cheapest of the 49ers pass catchers. And then let's go over here. Let's go over here to the 14th round, and we'll go with Rashad Bateman.
Okay. I like it. I like Bateman more in a best ball scenario. I don't want to have to put Bateman in my lineup, but when you're getting him in the 14th round, you're totally fine.
Yeah.
You're not going wrong. I think the only reason you didn't say Cedric Tillman is because he gets said in every single show that we've ever put out in the last 12 months. So
I was like, man, if you don't know that this is a Cedric Tillman show / podcast, you hadn't really been.
All right. Take him down off the screen, Jay. So if you would have told me to make sure that I got 2 players that in 2 wide receivers' names when we got going here this late, I would have said Rashid Shaheed and Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings for me in the 11th round is a really, really nice late 11 in this draft. That's a really nice grab, just to like fill it out. Like, you're not doing it wrong, right? You're not doing it wrong. They don't have enough. They don't have enough weapons in the quiver, right? They don't have enough arrows in the quiver. They don't have enough tools in the toolbox to make Juwan Jennings not be on the field. And so it was a joke. It was 3rd and Juwan for 2 years. Before last year, it was like everybody knows on 3rd down they're going to go to Juwan because Juwan would get that man-to-man coverage and he could beat that one-man coverage when Ayuk was on the field, Debo was on the field, whatever. And so, like, last year, everybody's hurt. it's skin and bones. Nobody's out there, and all of a sudden, when Juwan had his little breakout party, but then it's he's getting some targets, but he's not having as many catches as he did a couple weeks ago. It's like, all right, well, the entire defense is looking at third and Juwan. It's Juwan. It's first and Juwan now, and that ain't kind of Juwan's game. But you bring in, still got Kittle. You bring back hopefully McCaffrey. McCaffrey was gone all year last year. You bring back McCaffrey. Pearsall was shot, right? So you imagine he dodges bullets this offseason, and he comes in here and says, like, gets better. Sorry, there's a something popped up on the screen, and I was trying to read it while I was talking. My bad. You imagine that Jennings comes back and he's at least a contributor to your second flex, right? I don't want Jennings as my first or second or even my third wide receiver necessarily until I'm going through the attrition of the season. I'm dealing with injuries and bye weeks. And now if I'm in a 3 wide receiver league or, my first flex, and because I've run out of other options and Jennings is on my team, what a bonus to have, right? If you're picking up an 11th round, later 11th round player, 12th, 13th round player, you get Jennings, you get Rashid Shaheed, somebody like that can be put into your lineup and that they're part of their team's plans. It's a good thing. All these running backs down here in this area is all waiting on an injury. They're not part of the plans unless it's, James Conner, and that's 10th round. I went up a little bit, but he's old. He's not waiting on an injury. Najee Harris comes in, splitting time with a rookie, probably gets a little bit more rushing touchdowns than people want to admit right about now. But when you're this late, you're picking from scrap heap running backs that have plenty of upside given injuries, but you can dig around in here and grab a couple wide receivers that are legit. And then like the Jalen McMillan, you throw him on the bench as, wide receiver 7, 8, or 9 on your team and just throw him down there and wait because he's already showed you how good he is. And now we just got to wait for, not personally waiting, but the Jalen McMillan situation. You're waiting for a Godwin injury or Mike Evans injury or et cetera, et cetera. All it takes is one, and then McMillan's out there all the time, or they go 3 and 4 wide a lot, which is probably not what they're going to do, but they got the wide receivers to do it. All right, so I'm running out of steam over here, Chev. I think we knocked it out of the park tonight. This is probably the best podcast that ever came out on any platform ever in the history of the internet.
In the history of podcasts, without question. I feel like we got a whole lot of startup strategy knowledge out there. You've alluded to the video that we're going to drop here pretty soon. Who's a favorite team? Who's a favorite team you got here, Big Co? Like, what build do you like out of these right here?
I mean, yeah, like there's always going to be a player or two that I could move around, but I enjoyed the Lamb and Gibbs, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy. He had those 3 wide receivers, Kincaid, Pitts. Like I probably could have grabbed Tucker Kraft with one of those picks just to have a tight end that I feel a little bit more comfortable with in my lineup every week. Maybe not nearly as much upside as pure like target potential as a Kincaid or Pitts when it clicks, but Kincaid, Kraft just being safer might have been good to have as one of those picks instead of going complete upside on both of those double tap tight ends. So yeah, sorry, the screen's kind of wonky right this second, but yeah, that's a fun team. The Jamar Chase, Drake May, JSN, Hunter, Judkins, Penix, we talked about that. He ended up coming back with Trey Benson and Connor back to back. Geno Smith, he grabbed as a third quarterback. Evan Ingram, Bigsby, and Ramondre Stevenson are shots at running back. That team's obviously young and got studs, but then got the Tyreek Hill and James Conner in there, and Geno Smith to anchor as a third quarterback. Evan Ingram could potentially get a ton of love and catches. So that team's got like I'm super young in the trenches, like the Quinchon. They've got the Judkins, they've got the Hunters, JSN, Jamar. Like there's top end studs, and then there's like a nice mix on the way out the door. A couple running backs, Trey Benson and Connor now. Connor can be in my lineup now. Benson's on the bench. Geno Smith's on the bench. We don't need him. oh God, Drake May's hurt, Geno's in. You know, Evan Ingram didn't pay anything for him, 12th round pick, right? It's like every week starter, most likely. I don't see why not. You know, Denver's not running around with a ton of pass catchers. They did bring in RJ Harvey, but you know, it's not like all of a sudden they got Luther Burden in the second round like the Bears did, you know. So it's not, I think Evan Ingram's still in for just as many targets as he was going to get before the Broncos selected RJ Harvey in the draft. You know, I've no shade at Pat Bryant, but that's just not, you know, not going to take targets away from Evan Ingram.
Pat Bryant is a 2026 and beyond play. And I mean, he is a part of those plans for 2026, but we need to be very clear about that it's 2026 for Pat Bryant. We're not looking at him for 2025 unless Courtland Sutton gets hurt.
Well, but I mean, all it takes is a little bit of Sean Payton splash, and just, you know, it could happen. You know, so I'm not looking for, no, I'm not putting Pat Bryant on my team late in these drafts to say, hey, he's in my starting lineup anytime soon. But like when the time comes, I'll be happy to put Pat Bryant on my team, so I have him and everybody else doesn't, just in case that old quote comes back around about Sean Payton talking about Michael Thomas, right?
100%.
That's all you need. Like, sometimes you just play it like that, and you throw a 15th round pick at Pat Bryant, and you're like, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. Like this, I like that the CeeDee Lamb team at the end. He takes Alec Aguimanor and Pat Bryant back to back in the 14th and 15th round, right? Both of those guys could do nothing, but like Alec for the Titans, they don't have a whole lot of passing options, right? They got Calvin Ridley, and who else to throw the ball to?
You got Calvin Ridley is the lead dog in that room, and then we signed Tyler Lockett. So like nothing, pretty much.
Right. I love Tyler Lockett as a man. He's a good dude, and he's been a fantastic football player and a super underrated fantasy football player for years. And you know, but like, that ain't a lot of competition. Calvin Ridley's probably going to get 188 targets this year, but not a lot of competition. And then, you know, and so you got him in the 14th, and you put back to back, you go Pat Bryant. Like, I love that. I mean, you might not get anything out of him, but there's plenty of potential in that wide receiver room for the Titans for Alec. And then Pat Bryant, it's a little bit more crowded when you add in, you know, the tight end, when you add in Evan Ingram, and you add in the chosen one of the quarterback for RJ Harvey. But like, all it takes is, I mean, I like Courtland Sutton. He's because severely underrated since he got hurt a couple years ago, but I enjoyed that big college wide receiver coming out with a fast 3-cone. You know, I liked Courtland Sutton from the get-go. I enjoy somebody big with a good 3-cone drill. But like, you know, you got the Michael Thomas comparison, so why not throw a 15th round Pat Bryant on your team just in case, and have him before and nobody else does if you got him, you know?
That's exactly right.
All right, cool, man. If you got something you want to hit on before we get out of here, we can keep this one short and sweet.
No, man. Last one, just Torrey Horton, and the same thing you said about Pat Bryant, but for Torrey Horton. And you know me, unabashed Oronde Gaston lover.
Yeah. I mean, if Oronde Gadsden were to get a chance to showcase some skills for the Chargers, like, he's free. He's not you know, what is this, 16th round? Boom.
Yeah.
Love it. 16th round around Gadsden. Yeah. And you know, in the 16th round, like, this is as far as it goes on this draft. So you gotta you plant your flag. You know, if I'm in here, I might, like last year, I was taking Sam Darnold in the 16th round every time, in case he gave me a hard time. So I have to slam dunk on him for that. But like, you know, you put players in here just because you know you're not still going. But maybe if we had 22 rounds, maybe some of these players wouldn't get drafted in the 16th round right here. Maybe they fall down another round or two just because people are trying to put them in there and stamp them out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like Jarquez Hunter in the 16th round. That's he's getting the steam. And people
that's gonna be the one that climbs up the boards the most in the preseason. I'll be willing to bet.
I mean, I don't even know if we have to get all the way to preseason, my man Chev. Like, all it takes is more people have to see that video of the Rams draft room and Sean McVay talking about him. That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
Cool, man. I enjoy this stuff. I hope you do, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
Samesies, twinsies. All right, cool, man. Well, we'll see you next Monday night for a mock it up before you fuck it up Monday night. Might not do a third round reversal next Monday night. Might do a one quarterback. I don't know. We'll see what the brass. We'll see what the suits say about that. But we'll see what we come up with, bud. I enjoyed it. I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you. We're
Later,
out of here.
bud.